Oh, I like that new intro. How's it going, Doc? What's up? We're here. It is our new, I won't say new show. I mean, I guess it is a new show, but it's the same hosts. So
Yeah.
just a
Yeah,
little bit
it's
different flavor to what we're doing.
yeah, sometimes you just need that mad flavor in your ear. As some great poet once said, I'm doing well. It's like 50 outside ish. For you, I know that's tank tops and shorts weather.
Yep,
And
I got
so
the tank top right now.
and excited to start being able to talk about all things Colorado sports landscape. So again, we welcome our friends who are popping in and anyone that's going to download and listen later. So this again is the Mile High Sports Symposium. Yes, we're fancy. In our new rendition of the podcast, we're going to talk about all things Colorado sports. So not just one or two, but all. Because you know what? We love them. Some more than others, but we love them.
We love them. We love them. They drive us crazy. Sometimes they make us really happy,
Right.
And so I am happy to discuss both of those. With the Broncos, when we were doing just Broncos facing stuff, it was great. I love the Broncos. I'll always love the Broncos, but it's been hard. It's been painful. There's been some rough years, and so part of it is like we'd like to be able to talk about some positive things, not some negative things, and it felt a little toxic for a little bit, and not that um, not that we can't see a good future in the for the Broncos moving forward, but just it's hard. It's hard when we haven't seen it for a little bit, and so we're expanding. We follow all the sports pretty closely, and so we want to make sure that we bring that to you guys in our analysis and just get some feedback from you too, because we enjoy involving you guys in what we do as well. Um, Doc, how you been doing? How's life? We took a hiatus. Part of it was a little bit of rebranding. Part
Mm-hmm.
of it was some life changes for both of us.
Yeah.
Um, how have you adjusted? How's life? How's everything going in the present?
Things are adjusting still, but you know what? It's all good change. As a lot of us said, new year, new me.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
don't know if that's really gonna be a long take, but I'm excited. There's some pretty cool stuff I got going on the pike that I'll share at some point. But things are good. How about you?
Yeah, got a new job in the interim, so that's kind of put things on hold a little bit for us, and just settling in, feeling it finally like I've got my feet under me, and so having the wherewithal to think of something besides that has been nice.
Yeah.
But we're back. We're here to talk sports, and we're just going to jump into it.
Boom.
We're going to start with the Colorado Rockies, a team that we haven't talked
What?
about. And I don't. I am. You are more of a baseball guy than me.
That's true.
So this is certainly your specialty in comparison to mine. I pay attention to the local team. I understand, like, when big things go down, I see those
Right.
in the MLB, but I'm not as well versed in the league. But there was a Hall of Fame induction announcement, and our Todd Helton was selected to the Hall of Fame, and
Yeah.
well deserved. I think we can all say that without a shadow of a doubt. Give me your thoughts. Give me your feelings about that. When you saw that news break, how were you feeling? What was kind of reflecting on his career? How did his play here impact you as a fan?
Mhm. It's interesting because there was a moment in time, especially when Todd Helton was playing, where no Colorado Rocky got benefit of anything, right? It was
Yeah,
always a product of Coors Field, all that good stuff. Never the challenges of playing at altitude, but always the positives of it, right? So that he was a manufactured hitter, all that kind of stuff. Todd Helton was a consistent professional on the field. The guy showed up. I think when you look at it from like 1998 to 2011, there's only one season where he didn't play at least 118 games, and only 3 seasons where he played less than 144. So the guy showed up, played all the time in altitude, which that transition can really beat you up, and put up a healthy average 315 for his career, which in my opinion is pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know about you, but I take it. I'd take it.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And 369 homers, 2,519 hits. Sorry, batting average 316. Over 1,400 RBIs. Respectable 37 bags swiped.
Whole 37.
I'm extremely happy about it. I think I've heard it quite a bit where, baseball is the ultimate numbers game, where I think it's much easier to compare players with the distinct characteristics that we have with baseball than maybe other sports. And so I am super excited for him. And I think he got recognized. It took 6 years, but to be honest, when you saw Larry Walker's long delay, 6 years ain't too bad. I don't know that, that Todd should have been a first ballot or anything like that.
Right.
But, really good player. Loved, the Rockies, the Colorado, the state of Colorado, the region. He turned down trades. I think there was a trade lined up before the 2007 season for him to go to Boston. And he really didn't want to go. And thank goodness he didn't. One of the most magical runs in the history of sports occurred and brought some significant relevancy to the region for a bit with baseball. And I'm happy about it. I think there have been some really good players that have played for the Rockies. And, Todd is, as of right now, right, the best one, or him and Larry. Larry's always going to be my favorite, but I think Todd was Rockies baseball. I think he's the face of the franchise. And if the face of the franchise can't get in with really impressive, career numbers, it's going to be really hard to make case for guys moving forward. So hats off to Todd Helton. And hopefully, this won't be the last one. We got some work to do, but hats off to Todd.
Yeah, agreed. That consistency is kind of the thing that comes to mind with Todd Helton for me. It's just one of those things that, you knew he was going to make the play. You knew his glove was good. He was going to, anything that came within his range was going to be grabbed. It wasn't going to be missed, and he made a career just being as consistent as you can as a professional. Again, congrats to Todd. Amazing stuff, amazing career. And hopefully we get some more amazing Rockies things to talk about down the stretch. But let's move on from the Rockies because we've got a lot of teams to talk about still. Let's move to Broncos. We're going to do like a little year in review or season in review, and just kind of talk through our feelings and thoughts on the season, what worked, what didn't work, and some specific questions about the roster moving forward. So let's just jump in first with the Broncos season was, I'd say, memorable in its own way. It wasn't a complete drag, at least, for a stretch there.
It wasn't a complete drag. Fair. Fair. That's fair. It wasn't a complete drag.
I guess it depends on your perspective. For us draft people, we love the idea of tanking for the top pick. Obviously, that did not occur, even though to some of our chagrin.
To some chagrin.
Yeah.
I love that you chagrined. I love it. I love making you chagrin.
I did, but I jumped on the hype too when they started winning.
Man, you know what? I wasn't opposed to it. I just, I want them to lose because they stink, not because they don't try to win.
Right.
That's fine. But memorable moments. I think that was a fantastic way to put it. Right. Finally getting the Chiefs monkey off the back was great. Mm-hmm. Winning in Buffalo, which outside of last week looked really difficult to do.
Right.
And comebacks at the Vikings game, there was some good football sprinkled in, and it was disappointing because of some of the opportunities the team had.
Yeah.
And they finished about where we all thought they were, right? 10-7 kind of team to 7-10 team, right? Somewhere in there, we landed right in there. There's some positives to take, and I think that we all saw some opportunities for growth. And I think that this offseason is going to be critical.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be knee deep in the offseason when it starts rolling around. I mean, we got the Shrine Bowl coming up pretty soon. I think Senior Bowl is in a few weeks, and so we'll have a lot to talk about. But it was a memorable season, and at least it was stark contrast to last year. There was some professionalism-ish, some really good play, some guys that broke out that I thought was really fantastic. A couple undrafted free agents. Your second round pick making it to a Pro Bowl, like my man Graham pointed out. Even though it was as a returner, you saw what was there, which is a really big positive. Jaquan Macmillan, or Macmillian, depending on who is pronouncing his name. Good opportunity there to be able to cash in on some cheap positive contributors. McLaughlin was a fantastic addition. And so I think Cortland bounced back with a nice season. So there were some really good things. I think we all got our direction on Russ and whether or not that was going to work. So at least there's some answers to move forward. Some new questions that will have to come out. That's for sure. But
I'm going to ask you some of them actually.
So that's my
season in review. Give me a grade for Sean Payton first season as Broncos head coach.
Oh, good one. I give him a B-.
Okay. I think that's fair.
I think being able to pull this team out of the rut of 1-5 and staring down that barrel, I think showed the capability of this staff. Standing by Vance Joseph in the heat of an epic failure in Miami, I thought showed some stones.
Yep.
That said, some of the childish stuff, right? Some of the ego that came out, I think, minimized that. And then, I don't know if guys just weren't good enough to be featured or Russ missed them or what have you. But I think that there's just some offensive opportunities to highlight some guys and or utilize them a little bit more frequently that didn't happen. And then there were some mistakes in game management, I think, that probably cost this team a game or two. That said, I felt like, they were in almost every game. And you saw the teams switch from last year, right, where it was just incompetence to guys being able to make some plays, reduced errors, that kind of stuff. So a positive turn for sure. But we'll see. He's going to have a handpick of who the quarterback will be moving forward in general, potentially for the next decade. And that to me will be the grade that will matter. Does he find a quarterback that can run his system and do so in an efficient, effective manner? Stidham, at least in his short display, did not do that.
Right.
He's a backup for a reason. And, I would kill to be a backup. Just saying. So no shot for that job. But we need, this league needs someone a little bit more dynamic. They don't have to be a dynamic freak like Lamar Jackson. But
right.
Brock Purdy is a guy who came in and is doing what's asked of him and at a fairly high level, especially considering where you got him at. So I expect that to be the case next year with who Sean picks. And if that doesn't happen, then I really think we can, then we deserve to push back a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking just a straight up C because another losing season. I don't know that we didn't expect that, but we hoped that things would change with that. It does seem like the Russ stuff was, I don't know if mismanaged is the word, but there was definitely a clash. There's a clash between him and Payton that became pretty evident towards the end of Russ's stint with the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect that a little bit more from players than I do from coaches. You're put in a position of leadership, and it's your job to kind of push the team through hardship and disagreement and all those things. And I think the ego, like you said, you put it a nice way earlier. Those egos clashed. I have those. There's some pride with both of those guys, and I think ultimately, they just didn't work well together. I don't know that Sean Payton never trusted Russ, and I think you could say the inverse. Russ probably never really trusted Sean either, and it became a talking point towards the end of the season, and it became a big divisive thing for the Broncos in general. That looks like, I know people, I don't know if people are still saying it, but it looks like Russ is done. Every once in a while you'd be like, oh, well, maybe they just cut him. I don't think that's the case. I would be surprised if it was the case. So I think we start thinking about life without Russell Wilson and what that looks like with this coaching staff and the personnel that we have, and that cap hit we have to take.
Real quick.
Oh,
who would you draft?
Like who would I draft? Like at our position, or just
maybe give both. What would you do to get who you want, and or who would you take if they stood pat?
I am for the Broncos. I have a hard time saying this because I like draft capital. I think the more draft capital that you have, the better. I would be okay with the Broncos giving away some draft capital, some significant draft capital to get a guy that they want. If they need to move up into the top 5, I don't know if they have the chutzpah to do it. But they're not too short of assets right now. They have some nice pieces they can move, whether that be players or picks. I would be okay with that if that's the route they decided. Obviously, there's some inherent risk with that. You have to really like the top guys. I'm still a big Williams fan. I would be good with them going and getting him. I would be fine if they like Drake May, and that was a route they decided to go. I'd be fine with that as well. Realistically, though, I think, chances are they stay where they are or move backwards, not forwards. I don't know that I'm excited about any free agents. I'm not excited about who's available, really. I like Justin Fields. I don't think he would work in Sean Payton's system as much as I wish that he would.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like McCarthy out of Michigan. I hate to say it as an Ohio State fan. If they took him at 12, I don't know that I'd be mad about it. I don't know. He's got arm talent. There's a lot of question marks there. He's most likely a project. But, I don't want like Sam Darnold as our our starting quarterback next year. I think that's a realistic option, but like that's not the route I want to go. So that's what I'll say for now. I'm leaning draft over anything else. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a realistic option at 12 for me. I'm not on the Penix train. I think he's limited. If you're going to use a first-round pick on a guy, I really want to make sure that there's some significant upside.
Yeah.
He's probably better attitude Mac Jones to me. I don't like Mac Jones, nor the prospect of them creating a midday pick for him. I don't hear that crap. I'm here for it. No Mac Jones. Okay.
No way. I'm with you.
That crap back, Jack. Okay. I've been a Jaden Daniels guy for a while. I think he's not only has his progression been fantastic, but his makeup, his physical tools, I think that would be really great. I would be okay with taking McCarthy later. They'll trade back in to the back end like Lamar. So you get the 5th year. I just don't think he's ready. Super young kid, wasn't asked to do a lot. It's interesting. I'm becoming more okay with the idea of Bo Nix a little bit.
All right.
I was not at all, but I've watched a little bit more of his. He's super bright. I think he graduated magna cum laude, I believe. Ton of starts, ton of experience. Justin Herbert, the stuff was said about him too. Wasn't going to be able to come in and learn NFL football, which I bought into. I thought that was absolutely the case. What are they learning? Swings and slants. And I think that made me think a little bit more about his ability to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And with someone with that kind of intelligence, it makes me feel a little bit better. I'm okay with the Sam Darnold route. If you, I think you got to bring in someone young. I also like Michael Pratt. I think that would be someone I'd rather have in the third round from Tulane than Penix in the first round. I think you can get similar skill set for half the cost. I would be all for, normally I'm not for going all in, but I do think this team is pretty talented in the Denver Broncos. If they went up to top 3 and got someone, I think that would be great. I think it would take, Judy, 2 firsts and a second for one would be nice. I think it probably would be something like Surtain, 2 firsts. Something like that. So maybe you throw in Judy anyway, but I don't know that they would take him. So at least as that part of the thing. But would I be all for it? I would be all for that. I think that would be. I do that in a heartbeat, and especially because you assume they're going to move off of at least Judy or Cortland. I love Pat. I think Pat's fantastic. I'd rather them not have anything to do with trading him. But if that guy lands you, your 15-year QB, then it lands you that. So, but I do believe Sean Payton, if he identifies a guy, that guy will be able to play. So I would do with Teddy Bridgewater. So I would do with Jameis Winston, who, he could be a realistic option here in Denver too. I think they'll get better. They'll get better play. I think you need someone a little bit more of a threat to play the game than Jared Stidham. You saw his shortcomings for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Jameis Winston would be interesting. Just because I'd just encourage him to run up the score every opportunity he got.
The Dubs. I, as a Florida State fan, I have mixed feelings about Jameis.
Sure.
But on the football field, could he provide you with similar production to what Russ gave you at the fraction hip? And even moving off Russ, you sign a mid-tier vet and bring in a rookie. You move on from Stidham probably. You're still playing the league average in cap percentage for that room. So I think that they'll put a Band-Aid on it with the idea of really attacking it either in the draft or maybe Sean Payton feels really good about, I just need an adult in the room that can facilitate like a point guard and run this offense. Right. And if I get that, then we'll be good enough to go. I was more concerned with the run game, to be honest with you, than the quarterback. I thought there were a lot of opportunities left because the team couldn't effectively run the ball when they wanted to. So hopefully that gets addressed, but excited for that. Excited to see who the quarterback is. And I'm guessing we're going to have competition 2024 at the QB spot again. So we're used to that. We'll be tracking that every freaking day of training camp, which will be fun. And we'll see how that goes. But
could be fun.
That's my thought.
I don't know if it will be fun, but it has the potential to be fun.
Yeah, I mean it'll be fun because it's the excitement, it's the discord, it's all that stuff. Like it'll be entertaining. You just hope it pans out to good football.
Yep. It's all we want around here is good football.
That's it.
There's been a surplus other places that don't include us, unfortunately. So, but we did get the monkey off our back with Kansas City this season. So we at least have that to hang our hat on for and to get us through to next season.
Yeah.
Let's jump. You're the Avs or Nuggets?
Let's go Avs.
Let's go Avs.
We'll finish up with the Nuggy Ducks.
Yeah, the Nuggets are we got two successful teams at the current to talk about. Nathan McKinnon's on absolute tear. Dude is pushing to be the highest scorer in the league this year. He's fallen a little bit behind Kucherov, who's also having an incredible season. But McKinnon is the truth right now. He's electric. He's setting everyone up. He's I don't know. He's transcending some expectations. I think the season started a little bit slow. I think with him kind of feeling his way through. I don't know if maybe Just kind of getting back into the flow of things. It kind of stalled out for a little bit there. But for multiple months now, he's just been on an absolute tear. He's carrying that team forward. Not to say he's not having any help. I mean, obviously your superstars are carrying that team, Branton and McCarr, etc. And that's with some bodies that have been missing too. Right now, Nichushkin's out, going through some personal things. Lekkonen's been out, who's always been a nice gritty, second line guy that you can count on for deflections and screening the goalie and just driving the net. They've been a lot of fun to watch right now. They've had a stretch of games against some really tough teams, and they've come out mostly successful.
Yeah, they went on the East Coast trip. So at Toronto, at Montreal, at Ottawa, at Boston, at Philly. I mean, that's a pretty rough stretch. Really, outside of the Boston first 5 minutes and third period, they were played really well. Lost by a goal to Montreal, and put up 7 against Ottawa, 7 against Philly, 1 in Toronto. Nathan MacKinnon. This isn't the year that he wins the Hart Trophy. I think that's pretty. It's pretty damning. He's been a finalist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Has not won it yet, and this year just phenomenal numbers. I think he's on a 12-game point streak. If I recall, on the season so far, he's got 77 points in 47 games.
That's pretty crazy.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good at the old hockey stick. And considering Nichushkin's been the defensive play because of injuries has been and there was some lack of cohesion in the locker room. You saw Devontae's come out and say some stuff publicly, which for a hockey locker room, that means a lot. That's not football where stuff just comes off the cuff sometimes, or basketball or what have you. This is the hockey culture is very hush, keep it in house, say less, do more kind of thing. And really since then, this team has really taken off. So shout out to Devontae for being a captain.
Yeah.
And really pushing his group to perform at expectation. So I think that's something to note. And then, something I think is, the Val Nichushkin extension now really, with the last 2 seasons having to leave after missed games, with lack of communication. Obviously, I hope, the mental health advocate, I hope he is okay. I hope that Val is getting the support that he needs just personally. Professionally, if I were that locker room, that'd be really rough to have him come back in again. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3 times. Like that. That'd be really tough, especially for a team that, to me, has the pieces to make a significant Stanley Cup run. Once everyone kind of gets healthy and moving through, and you can't do that when a guy making 7-8 million is no show. And so that part to me has to get answered, or this team's going to struggle. One thing I think is really good, the rumor has it, the captain Gabe Landeskog is skating with a little bit of intensity, with the hope maybe being that he plays in the playoffs.
Hey,
that
would be exciting.
None of us saw it coming, thinking that he was going to be out for the entire year last year, let alone 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And so then you kind of forget that he's on the team. Not that diehard fans don't, but he's not active, he's not participating. It's hard to be a captain and help galvanize a group when you're not on the ice with them. And so the fact that he might come back, if that's got to give those guys hey, let's, if we get there and we get Gabe back, then that minimizes Val's role. Maybe they make a deadline deal to get some support. Wood is playing pretty well, I think, as of late. So you're getting some guys that are really maybe starting to get in, if you get that leadership back in, and a guy that will give you some real tough play at a high level, I think that that's something that would really be key for this team and their hopes for a Stanley Cup. Just the Val situation, it's sad because it was him or Nas, and on paper it looked like a smart deal. A guy who is younger, all that good stuff. That was a smarter investment. And hindsight, looking back to like, oh geez, that was the whiff. If Val's here, or if Nas is here, it's a consistent difference in how this team's playing. So I'm really excited about their run now. I know that they're second in the Central as of late, but really a nice turnaround and some really solid play throughout. So how excited are you? What do you think their prospects are to get there? And do you think McKinnon wins his first Hart Trophy?
Hard to say. I think it's going to be a two-man race, and unless McDavid does something crazy and gets back in it somehow, which I wouldn't put it past him. Historically, especially recent history, dude can catch fire at any time and just go insane. There's a lot of talent on that first line with him. I think it's quite possible if the Avs end up winning the division. I think that elevates his chances even more. It's a tough division. There's some good teams that the Avs play, all season long, just within that division alone. I think Nate deserves it, obviously, but I'm a homer, so take that for what you will. But I think he certainly has the ability to do it. I think he's shown that he's grown and matured. Not that he has had any issues lately, but just the other night, even against Philly, he had 2 goals. Why am I blanking on his name? One of our other guys, young guy, I guess not that young anymore. Anyways, he had 2 goals. There's an empty net at the end of the game, and Nate passes it up, gives it to him, and he gets the hat trick instead of Nate. Nate gets the assist. It was just really cool for his first hat trick. I know this player's name, I just can't think of it right now because I'm on the spot, but it was just nice. It was nice to see, the leader being the leader, deferring to some of those guys, building some confidence within there, and giving his guys some confidence moving forward.
Logan
O'Connor, thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking it's got to be one of the younger guys.
Yeah, not too young. Yeah. He's been around for a minute. He's still a young guy.
Still a young guy, but yeah.
I mean, everyone in hockey is a young guy, really.
Compared to me, for sure.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, I think they have some questions to answer, like you were saying about Big Val. I think as far as talent goes, I don't question that at all. He's played well. He's good he's a good defensive forward. He's a big body. He creates a lot of traffic in front of the net. He's had a really great scoring season so far. But you're right. If you can't rely on him, how far can you carry that? How much energy and effort do you want to put into that? I can certainly see that perspective. There is still some loss of depth, I think, for that second line. I'd like to see Lehkonen get back in there and just see how deep they go, how deep they can go with that group. And if they feel like they need to make a move to get some, maybe another center. Johansson's been an up and down addition to that team. Is nice to have a face-off specialist. But, the consistency really hasn't been there. So I'd like to see more of that. I think that we have some good personnel, but I think there's some questions to still be answered. And same with goaltending. I like Georgiev. He's a talented goaltender, but he has been up and down. He hasn't been consistent. I think that they can make a move to bring in someone to back him up that would maybe just bring some stability to that group, that unit. I could see them making a move for kind of a veteran backup guy if they didn't want to completely move away from Georgiev, which I don't think they will. But I could see them making a move for some depth there. And then, I'll pull up Graham. Oh, you have it up. My bad. Malinsky's been a great addition. You know, he's a young guy. He's got a little bit of Cale Makar offense in him in his game. Likes to throw the puck down in front of the net, you know, from the blue line. Likes to create some opportunities with his offense. He's got some good speed. You know, there's some growing to do, some strength to build, but I like what he brings to the team. I think they've pieced together a pretty good group. You know, I think they've got to answer some questions against some of the higher caliber teams. They did a nice job versus Vegas. They've done a nice job versus Boston, at least in that first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They've beat some nice teams down the stretch here, especially on the road. But you've got Winnipeg, you know, that you've got to really test yourself against. You've got Vancouver. You've got teams that a lot of those teams and those Canadian teams right now are just they're looking really strong, and so you've got to put it together. You've got to remind people that, you know, we're only a season removed from being champions and that we can get there again. I think it's possible. You know, I believe in our stars, and that's kind of the biggest thing with any sport, right?
Yeah.
It's fun to have a team that is feisty and has a lot of guys you can root for. But if you don't have guys that can score goals or make baskets or, you know, whatever, throw touchdowns at key moments in the clutch, then it doesn't really bring you that far. And I think we have that. So that tends to make me think that we can make a deep run and potentially, you know, a cup appearance and win.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's, you know, depth gets you there. You know, stars got to put you over the top, right? It's hard to win a championship without good performances from your stars.
Yep.
We saw that with the Nuggets last year, right? Jamal Murray steps up, Jokic steps up, Gordon steps up, MPJ for the most part. So those guys all raised their game, which elevated the team's play. Because you're going to tighten up your rotation too. You're not going to shovel out as many lines out there in critical games than maybe you normally would in a regular season when you're trying to get 382 or find a good mixture. The good news with injuries and departures is younger guys get to come in and contribute. So, you know, like Graham pointed out, I don't know that he gets that run without some guys missing.
Yeah.
And, you know, same with Wood, I think is playing pretty well lately. I think it forces some guys to step up. Then you hope that carries when guys come back. You know, when Lehkonen comes back and guys keep playing at an elevated level. I think they got to make a move and more for just solid depth, which I think is something that they can do. I think depending on the Val situation, I wonder what exemptions can be utilized for the cap. Yeah, I don't know if it has to be prior to season or but I know Gabe doesn't count or hasn't counted against the cap all the way. So, but you know, right now they have the fourth best record in the West. Third best record in the West. Yes. Right. And I think like fourth in the entire NHL. So, you know, only behind Boston, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, and just ahead of Dallas and Vegas. So I think they're playing really good hockey at this time, and I think with their star power, they got to be healthy. You know, Makar's got to be on the ice to be special. McKinnon has to stay on the ice. Rantanen has to stay on the ice. That kind of stuff. I think if health finds this team and they can get solid, especially I think with Val stuff happening now and not closer to the playoffs, I think then they'll have time to adjust. Maybe he comes back. And so I think, you know, there's a few things there. So I'm excited to see where this team goes. I think they're playing really good hockey. I don't think that the gap between them and other NHL teams right now is very big. You know, split with Boston, the best record in the NHL. And, you know, they'll get a chance to knuckle up with Winnipeg a few times. Showed that they can beat Vegas, which had been difficult for them last season, as Vegas was pretty much unstoppable. So there's some good stuff in there. You know, they've showed up. They played some really good hockey against good teams. So I feel pretty good about this. I think Nathan McKinnon, I'm going to go on a limb, will win his first Hart Trophy. Yeah, I think he's just playing that dude. Just got to have some more moments. Got to have some more opportunities where the light is shined on him and he produces. Yeah, appreciate the info, Graham. I figured kind of mid-season, you're probably not going to get much relief there, so it'll just be interesting to see, you know, what the Avs do and if Val comes back and if he comes back and stays back.
Yep. Uh-oh. Cut out for a second. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can. You're good. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Now, finally.
Go for it.
No, I was going to transition, but unless you had something to finish up with the
No, I was just going to say, we losing Kadri. You did mention Kadri. Losing him 2 years ago was a blow. That's a 90-point scorer on your second line.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a typical output from someone in that position. And so we knew that transition away from him was going to be difficult. I think they've done a nice job. I do still think they need someone to step up, though. That's all I was going to say to finish that out. But let's.
I think they got to raise the floor, and you need someone that can compete with other teams' second line, especially when you're on the road and you can't match lineups. I think you have to have someone that's going to be a little bit more, that's more reliable, that can give you a little bit more punch. Doesn't have to be an elite goal scorer by chance, but someone that's going to give you a 50-point season, 20 goals, 30 assists, which isn't necessarily setting the world on fire, but that's consistent, really good hockey. And, someone that can contribute on both ends. And I think if they can get that to raise the floor, I think they'll be pretty set. I don't think they have to make a major move. I think Val will come back. I think he'll stay back for this year. It'll be interesting to see what the offseason brings, but we're not there yet. One small move, maybe another defensive depth piece potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they have to do a lot. I think just a smart move, I think will be enough for this team.
Yep. All right, let's transition to the Denver Nuggets.
Who have been
on
world champion.
My apologies. You're right. World champion, Denver Nuggets, trying to repeat, and looking pretty good right now. They've had their a little, I wouldn't say ups and downs, but the downs were not really big downs. They've just kind of at times not looked like the champs that we remember.
Yes.
But it has less to do with their ability, and I think more to do with just where we are in the season. A lot of people lately have been just saying, Jokic is sleepwalking until they get to the playoffs, and then he'll open it up like he does, which I can't really disagree with. Even last night against the Pacers, that dagger three towards the end of the game just looks so nonchalant.
My guy, the way he plays basketball is just absurd. I mean, it in like the best way possible. As my buddy Chris, thanks for joining us, says, we're part of a fun group chat where, it's frustrating and extremely impressive to see this team be able just to turn it on and say, all right, we're going to go to Boston and win today, and they do. So I'm super excited about this team. It's a fun group to watch. I think I really appreciate the advancement of guys like Peyton Watson, who really took an opportunity and ran with it. Reggie Jackson, who we all were, I don't know that many people were excited that was the move to come back, has shown to be a really productive player. Even DeAndre Jordan, he's got called upon, has turned back the clock a little bit, not all the way, not back to the future style. Don't need roads where we're going, but it's been pretty impressive to watch this team. They barely beat, but they beat Washington. It was a humble game, but I think that they recognize that they don't have to put the pedal to the floor every single game. They have to do enough to win. The rotation kind of helps out with that. The bench still is but to be honest with you, benches are going to be not a lot of really, that's the best starting five in the NBA. I think it was last year. I think it is this year. It's hard to have that, and especially with the money that you're allocating to that group, and then have a really deep bench. How much are they going to play? How much you're going to let, Jokic and Murray sit, especially when it's crunch time, so it's like it is hard, but I think this team is positioned well. If you had to make a move, if you're like, hey, we need to add one piece to this group, what would your thought be? What would you like?
Yeah, I would probably go one of two ways. Probably would go with some center depth. I haven't been a Zeke Najee believer since we drafted him. I gave him benefit of the doubt. I loved his ability to shoot. Looked really smooth. Had the ability to hit the three, knock it down. Really hasn't shown much of that, and he just looks, I don't know if lost is the right word, but he's just not super effective offensively in this league, which is what they kind of brought him in here to do. His ability to switch on the perimeter is nice. Like, he's got some positive traits, but really, for a championship team, I don't know that he can hold any value as a backup to Jokic. So I would try and find someone. I tweeted the other day, I want them to go get Dario Saric from Golden State.
Yeah. What do you think you had to give up if you had to guesstimate?
Probably not much, probably a second rounder, maybe one of your second round guys that you've already drafted. The dude's making, just over $1 million, I think, for one. He's got a 1 season this season he's under contract. He doesn't have anything beyond that. Offensively, he brings a lot to the table. I don't know that he's going to have a ton of defensive impact, but he's at least going to push that second unit. He's someone that you can kind of give the ball to in a pinch, and he can kind of create something down low. I don't know. There's a few options, but the cap restrictions make it hard. Other way I might go is maybe one more shooter off of the bench that you can kind of throw in, especially if you're thinking playoff rotations. Christian Brown's shot has not been consistent this year. I don't know that you can rely on his shot from the outside. He looks a little bit like he's got some analysis paralysis as the season's gone on. And he's not been as good with his on-ball defense, if we're being honest. I think he's regressed a little bit, and it makes me a little bit nervous. Peyton Watson's grown. Obviously, he's had more opportunity to play. I like his athleticism. I like his ability to come in and spell Aaron Gordon. I think that's a positive thing. And I think he'll continue to grow in that. But also his outside shot, especially lately, has not been falling. He had a nice stretch where he was hitting it pretty consistently, and now we've fallen off again. So, get a wing that you can bring off the bench that, is going to be just a 3-and-D kind of guy. Someone that's got a reliable outside shot. That might be the other way I would go. But I would like for someone to be able to legitimately give Jokic some relief. Maybe, help that unit win. I don't know if Sarge would be great with Reggie, just because I don't really see him as a pick and roll kind of guy. But I think the more offensive skill that you have coming off the bench with some of these defensive young guys, you can put together a playoff rotation that isn't going to lose minutes, at least, hopefully. Or if they do, it's not going to be by significant margins. Let Reggie kind of ISO, let Peyton kind of roam and play defense, get one more guy that can create a little bit of offense down low. And I think you've got, just as deep a playoff rotation as they had last season.
Yeah. I think there's a couple names that I like. I think Chris outlined it. I mean, Brucey has an opportunity to be able to come back. He has a non-guaranteed, I think it's an option year next year. So really you're picking up half of his contract's like $10 million. So you'd have to make some money, line up. I haven't looked at the salary, but I think Zeke it
would be hard.
Is making a little bit. It depends. It depends on what you think. Would you send Zeke and Brown for Brown? And, is that kind of circling that you're done with, with that youth rebuild? I think you have a really good window. I don't know how long, we think this window can last for a little bit, but we don't know. So I think being able to execute within that window would be smart. Malcolm Brogdon is a guy that I think provides you with some scoring. I think he's averaging about 18 points this season out there in Portland. Bogdanovich. I've always been like, I wouldn't mind him just sitting at the 3-point line with Jokic out on the floor and be ready to catch and shoot. I think it's interesting because it seems like same year, same questions, right? They need a big that can come in and help support or take up some good minutes for Jokic. They need someone we need a spot up shooter. I think when you have a guy like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, who are really good creators, Jackson is a good creator. You want guys that are ready and can hit an open bucket.
Yeah.
And then, someone that can create their own offense. I don't feel as much as that I need that as much as someone that can help facilitate other guys. Because I think your bench guys probably could score. They just have to get set up in an opportunity to be able to do so. Someone that's going to really, play good D, that can mix and match with, with their play. So they can run with the first team, they can run with the second team. It just kind of depends on what you need. So I think if they're going to make a deal, I want someone that we feel like will help contribute in the playoffs. That's going to be a part of that rotation versus, a late depth piece that's, gonna ride the bench come the playoffs, like a few of the deals last year. Guys just getting because they got the trade and then came here and got a ring. But I'm excited. I think it could not do anything and win. I think they could do something and win. So I don't feel like they have to. I think they've shown a propensity to be able to do it. I also, the buyout phase, I think that's one too that they can capitalize. Being a team that has won now, I think you are a more desirable landing spot for, someone that's going to get bought out post trade deadline and come here, sign on a vetman deal. I think you can kind of work maybe some of that magic. And so I don't think they have to be desperate. I don't think it has to be a big swing. Would it be fantastic if they traded Christian Braun for Bruce Brown? Yeah, for sure. I don't see Christian Braun developing a jumper. I just don't see it. I don't.
Yeah.
And without that, to be honest with you, there's only so much upside for him.
Right. The problem is like he isn't driving like he was last season either. Like he's not playing with the same confidence, offensively or defensively. And so I'm not saying I'm ready to give up on the guy, but I definitely want to see more as we get closer to the trade deadline. You've got to make a decision pretty soon here on whether you're going to roll with him or if you're going to, possibly bring in someone that fills that role differently. I just, I don't know that he's done a lot to warrant much confidence at this point in the fans or, obviously Malone, he's a Malone guy. Malone likes him, is going to keep him in that rotation. They're going to encourage him to play his game and take risks, but he's not doing that right now. And, if he's not doing that, then his ability level is limited. I mean,
it's one of those where it was like Kareem Jackson. If Kareem Jackson isn't starting for the Broncos, there's no point with him being on the roster, right? Like he doesn't contribute enough in other areas to be beneficial. And so if Christian Braun isn't going to play with the same tenacity to offer what he offered last year, then he's a liability. And then the liability that he displays in the other areas is so magnified. I would love it if he just put it together and, at least go back to being the crazy guy last year. That's going to run through a wall on a basketball court. And, we'll work on the other parts, later. I think that they could make a pretty creative deal and not get rid of Brown. I don't know you can get Bruce Brown for that. It depends on how much Bruce, how much they want to do right by him. Are they looking to really cash in or in Toronto to simply, get fair value? And I think with that, maybe you're able to utilize some trade exceptions, some things like that to make that move. But they're in a good spot. I think you're in a good spot. with some future assets, as well as they're at the tax threshold with their big stars, but they're not in a really disgusting place. They've with how they drafted this year and last year, with guys in the late first, are going to come in with reasonable salary contracts: Peyton Washington, Christian Brown, Jordan Strother, etc. So you're kind of laying some good foundation there. So could you take a little bit of a risk to bump up some salary for a season to make a run? I think you can. They're not going to be able to sign Bruce again long term, but but again, it's about the 2024 championship and not about 2032. I think they're in a window. Let's try and stack trophies as much as possible. But I have, out of all the GMs in the Denver sports region, I have the most faith in Calvin Booth. Like that organization has shown a propensity to pick up really timely and good pieces, and I expect them to do the same.
Yeah, windows can close really quickly, and so one injury to a key player, and that window, I don't know if it closes completely as long as it's not Jokic, but that window can certainly go from being a 5-year window to a 2 or 3 year window.
Yep.
And so as much as I like some of these young guys, if you have to move them to stay winning and stay at the top of the league, then I think you got to do it. One more guy I was going to mention that I would maybe try and make a play for, that I really haven't seen anyone talk about, is Isaiah Jackson. He's a center out of Indiana. Hasn't really played a lot. He was playing more in the season than they made that trade for Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't really seen him much. Played the Pacers last night. He was in there maybe a few minutes, I think. Good pick and roll big, athletic, pretty decent skill set offensively. Someone that I think that can give you some solid minutes. Pretty long. I don't know that he's a great defender. He probably needs a little more meat on his frame to be able to really bang with some of those bigger guys like Anthony Davis. But really, you're not going to ask him to do that in the playoffs anyways, at least for any extended period of time. I think his contract's right around $2.5 million, something like that. So it's not like he would be an expensive one. And he's kind of, I won't say he's been an outcast or discarded with the Pacers. Yeah. He's a young guy, so I'm guessing that they have plans for him potentially in the future. But, I think you move, a guy that they see some potential in from our roster, whether that be a Brown or a Strother and maybe another pick, and you can get a guy that'll give you some depth that might show you his ability to play within a pick and roll system with like Reggie, who I think really benefits from. He plays better with DeAndre Jordan for certain than he does with Zeke Naji, right. Just having that athletic rim running threat on that side of the ball. So I would be happy to see him traded, whether that be here or someone else, just because I'd like to see more of him. I think he's got some potential to be a good rotational player in the league. But that's someone else.
So he makes $5.6 million. Zeke makes $4.3 million. So Could you do Hunter Tyson and Zeke? Yep. I mean, salary, it'd be an easy matchup. I think it would be within. So, they also have Bones Highlands, $2.2 million trade exception. So I think I like that. I think if you're going to make a move for that, either you need someone that's pretty established, right. a vet buy-in, or someone that can grow into it, that can maybe be what you hope that Zeke was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I think we're up at it. I think we've hit all the major sports teams. Any hit points we didn't hit for any of those in the closing?
No, not yet. Just answer your question, Chris. Is we too expensive? a little over 18 million. So you'd have to send quite a bit back. So I don't think that would be one that they could pull off. But I think guys like that, I think that there are a ton. Andre Drummond.
I don't know if I love a Drummond, but I've heard that. I don't know if I love it.
You already got DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah,
DeAndre Jordan again.
I think Drummond's better than Jordan, but I also think that
but they're the same dude.
Yeah, the same dude. With
But
maybe
I think that there's some guys, because really you just need a role guy. You don't need a huge piece. And I don't think that they're ready to move off of MPJ to make a big move. So I think without that flexibility there, you're probably looking at trying to move Zeke and one of your young guys, Brown, Strother, Pickett, for a guy that's making, I don't know, 8 to 10 million.
Yeah, or less. I think they're in a salary cap position that's tough. But if they stand pat, I wouldn't be surprised. But as the trade deadline comes up, especially in the NHL and NBA, we'll be keeping a tight eye on all of that. And we're just going to be keeping our ear to the ground on all of these teams as the seasons roll around. If you want to talk sports with us, of course, you can jump in the chat. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Graham. Thanks, Cam, for all of your comments today, Joey. Appreciate you guys showing up for our We're Back debut. We weren't gone that long, but we're back now, and we're happy to be back. Love talking ball, love talking sports. So hit us up. What's our new handle, Doc?
At Doc and JT.
Perfect. On Twitter /X and Instagram.
Bam. Pow. Whammy.
Whammy. All right. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us today. We're going to call it quits for the moment, but we will be back next week, same time, same place, and ready to talk ball. See you later. Have a good one.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the cause.